Ever wondered how to maintain a good work-life balance? Hi, I'm Deepa Mohan, who's the moderator of today's panel. I've been with the IT industry for more than 20 years. And today's conversation is all about how to maintain a good work-life balance, an important topic in the lives of working people. This panel is made possible by Shakti, which is a group of movers and shakers who have a secret sauce for solving business problems. There are a lot of people who are working hard to juggle their career, family life, social life, and their hobbies. Now, today we have an awesome group of panelists who are going to take some time to go over their views on how to put on your own oxygen mask and take care of yourself. So we have Deepa Kartha, CEO and founder of Journeys from Zinda. We've got Therese Rowley, CEO of Accelerated Alignment and Conscious Business Network. We've got Lita Keller, who's the VP at RPA. Did I miss anything?
You got it, Deepa.
Now, let's get started. What does work-life balance mean to you? Is it a myth? Deepa, do you want to go first?
Do I want to go first? No, but I will. Work-life balance. You know, when I started my career about 20 plus years ago, work-life balance was one of the biggest priorities for me starting day one. And at that point of time, I thought it was doing it all. You know, having a great career, having a great home, your home has to be perfect, your kids have to be perfect. That's what I thought it was. And then later, as I got a little older and wiser, I realized that you can have it all, but you cannot do it all. So to answer the question, is work-life balance a myth? I don't believe it is a myth, but trying to do it all is definitely a myth. And if you're trying to do it all, you're probably not going to succeed. So that is my take on it.
That makes perfect sense. To me, it sounds like you don't have to be that hard on yourself. What do you think, Therese?
I think that work-life balance is very different for each person and each part of their lives, and sometimes each day. So you get to define what's important to you by, I think, what you're devoted to in your heart, what you have passion for. I think it defines where your energy goes that day and where the priorities are. And I think it's particularly feminine energy that will go to what is in the moment, the most, whether it's a client that must be cared for or it's a child or a significant other. I think that the feminine knows there's the priority. And I think most of that is predicated on how deeply we're in touch with our intuition and ourselves. But I do think that it's different for everyone and it can be maintained. The other thing is, how far out can we stretch that line before we can call it balance? Maybe it's not balanced today or tomorrow this week, but when you look back on the year, was there balance? You know, they say raising kids, like a day is like a year and every year is like a day. So, you know, how you feel about what you're up to. So I think it's possible in your own definition of it.
You explained it so well. How about you, Lita? What do you think?
So when I first saw that question, the first thing that came to me is, why are these two buckets even there? Why is one called work and why is one called life? Is work not part of our life? That kind of tells me that one is not good or one is bad and one is good. So pulled back even further, I hope you're doing something that you enjoy in work so it doesn't have to feel bad. So to me, it is a blend of spending your day doing something that's fulfilling. So I have kind of a balance throughout. So it's not so much one or the other. Can work not be something that's part of your life and that is good? So is it a myth? It's not a myth. You can have it. It'll ebb and flow. One day it may be heavier on quote unquote work and one day it might be lighter, but to Therese's point, it goes between day by day, week by week, so on and so forth. But I think just the terminology, work and life, why is it separated?
That's a great point.
Probably, you know, probably the reason is because maybe life happened before work, and after work came into the picture, you had to figure out how does that fit into life, you know, or something like that.
But it should be your work, you know, and that's part of when we choose our careers, I'm hoping that you find something that's fulfilling. So it is an extension of your life, part of your life. So it doesn't have to be separated.
Compartmentalized.
Yeah, I think prior to technology, it was very important to separate work from personal life, and that they could be separate. Right now, I'm not sure they can be, but they used to be, and it's still true from the statistics that I believe it was 72% of people do not think that they're doing something that they love in work. They do not like where they're working. And so they probably want to separate work and life, right? And so for them, that would be important. And again, I think technology, and then add COVID to it, it's all become a blend. And that's why it has a whole definition has changed with work-life balance. It's a whole definition has changed.
Agreed.
That brings up an interesting question. So what are some of the signs that your life is in balance or out of balance? More like, you know, how do you actually define the word balance, right? Who would like to go next?
Okay, I'll go. You know what is interesting is that, you know, as Therese is talking about, right, everybody's definition of work-life balance is different, and you heard 3 different definitions right now, right, Deepa? So for me, balance is, for me, I have to be balanced every day, you know, because what I've seen is that, I worked in technology. I worked in credit card systems for 20 years, and it was full of crisis calls, if you will, right? 24/7. You could get called at any given point in time, and you're like, okay, there is a problem right now, blah, blah, blah. So I became good at operating in a high stress environment, but I realized that I dislike operating in a high stress environment. So for me, it is important that my life is balanced every day, you know, or I try to be balanced every day. So for me, it is like every single day at the end of the day, I should feel, you know, there are some positives, there are some negatives, but I should still have that sense of balance. So I personally don't like going high on one side and then low on the other side. I like a little sine curve is what I like every single day. But that is going to be different for everybody.
Yeah, so sounds like, Deepa, you're very disciplined and organized, that you're able to maintain that balance every single day, but not everybody probably is. So does anybody
I would
want
not
to
go that far, but you know, I try.
Yeah, I would go that far, Deepa, for you. I'm an Aries, so I dive into something, and then, like, you know, years later I go, whoa, where am I? I went down the rabbit hole, and then I have to come out and say I haven't slept in a while, and uh-oh. And I was in a big 6 consulting firm, so that was 24/7. You were just expected to work 100 hours a week, and that was the minimum. So it was just, you just dive in. And really then it was clear that when you're out of balance, you get sick, or you get super tired, you get overwhelmed very quickly. You start to emotionally react to things very quickly. And so then it's like, well, now what does work-life balance mean? And I try to be better now with, you know, with my daughter and with my work and everything like that. But recently I went on a vacation, and really the first one in 9 months. And we just went to a little cottage an hour and a half away. And by the 6th day, I could hear my insides. And when I'm in the city, I'm in Chicago, and it is very dense here, and it's 24/7 going, even in COVID. And I sometimes I just can't hear myself, and I don't know it. And then I go away, and then I know it. And I say, oh, there I am. And now I actually know I was out of balance, because when I was in it, it didn't feel out of balance. But now that I'm outside, I know I was. So sometimes it takes getting away from a situation to even know that you're out of balance. Very interesting stuff.
Yeah,
it is. So Lita, did you have something to say about it?
Yeah. So for me, what is balance for me? Balance is just the absence of stress. Or even if I'm in stress, I mean, I'll ride it, I know that emotion is there and that feeling is there, but can I also come out of it? So if I can end the day, I think even to Deepa's point, if I can end the day, you know, calmly reflecting, what did I accomplish, and just kind of put it to rest so I can start the next day. So that's when I know I'm in balance. But if I have to take to bed a stressor, a thought, something that is bothersome, then I know I'm out of balance. So
awesome. So yeah, so that brings up a good question around, I often notice many people at workplace working more than 40 hours just to keep up with the schedules and keep up with their peers and all of that. So as a manager or a leader, what do you do to ensure that your team has a good work-life balance? So basically what I'm going towards is maintaining work-life balance the responsibility of an employer or an employee?
I'll go. So work-life balance is really important with my ad agency. We've got a people first motto. They encourage work-life balance. In fact, they even reward people. They recognize people's what they do, volunteer work or whatever they do outside of the company. So I think it actually begins from the top down. Is it embraced? Do they have programs for the employees to follow? And then it does trickle down. Do I lead by example? And I do give that flexibility. Well, the agency gives us that flexibility to go ahead, and then we know that with COVID, parents are at home, you know, teaching their children along with the e-learning. So there is that flexibility. So the agency recognizes and gives us that flexibility as a manager. I allow that, of course, with the employees. So carrying it down from the top down, showing that in practice, I think also helps. So I think it is the role of the employer and then the employee to take advantage of that. But I think it has to be recognized, at least in our agency or from my point of view, from the top.
I agree with
Therese, do you agree, or did you want to add something to this?
I do agree with Lita that it's, and I think it's really both, because one, I know that they did a study that said $62 billion of vacation time is not taken by people, and over half the people don't take the time that they have. And then that gets left on the table because they can't take it if they don't take it in a certain time. And sometimes in the culture of the company, they would rather not have you take it because that means they're short of resource during a difficult time with the client. And so they might not encourage you to take it. At the same time, it is incumbent on each person and their responsibility for their own work-life balance to say, I need to take this vacation and let's work it out so that it's as easy as possible for the people around me. So I think it's both. And I do think that it's, really, when people don't take it, the statistics show when people don't take their vacation, they're going to be less likely to be promoted, to be productive, and even to get raises than people who do take vacation. So it's really good for individuals to do it. And at the same time, companies think it's not good because sometimes that, but I also think I'm working with a division of the Federal Reserve Bank, and they're very good even during COVID, where they recognize that remote work sometimes, and for some workers, leaves them doing work day and night. I mean, they're not working 9 to 5 anymore. They're working like 8 until 8 at night. And it requires the intervention of their the person who they report to say, how are you doing? How are you coping? How can I help? What can I get out of your way? And what is your work-life balance, so that they can help with that. Otherwise, sometimes people feel intimidated and they don't want to, they want to look like they're, like you say, that they're more competitive, so they're going to do it. But that doesn't help them or the company relative to productivity or their health. So I think it's both.
So one of my mentors early in my career. So remember I was saying earlier that I used to try to do it all. I wanted to be like a superwoman. I wanted to do it all, check every single box. So one of my mentors and my director at that point of time, you know, he saw me buzzing around like a bee one day at work, and he said, Deepa, I want to tell you something. can you just stop and smell the roses? Was this thing. I'm like, what rose? I'm like, I need to do this. I need to do 50 things. And he's like, no, stop, is what he told me. And, so I think you're going to have some leaders who understand the need that, hey, because everybody is so short term, right? Everybody's focused on, I have this deliverable, I have this number to make. That is what everybody focuses on. But there are some people who are more strategic to realize that, hey, there are things beyond numbers, there are things beyond deadline, and you are in it strategically for the long run and not just for that immediate deliverable. So I've had have had the luck of having some really good mentors who've helped slowed me down, because otherwise I would have literally been buzzing around like a bumblebee. So that helps. So, but a lot of companies are not like that, right? Therese and Lita, a lot of companies are not like that, where they are like, hey, they kind of drive you to that deadline, which is great for the short run, but for the long term, it's really bad.
Yeah, and some people, that reminded me, Deepa, some people too are more driven than others. And I remember working in Colorado in this, with some operations. These guys were doing some strategic planning, and this guy was sitting there, and he said to me, this is the client, and he said to me, we're working on this plan, and he said, isn't it beautiful? And I said, what? And he said, behind you. And I said, what? He said, that's the Continental Divide. It was sitting in the picture window behind us, the Continental Divide, the mountains. And I looked and I go, yeah, really pretty. Anyway, we've got to get to the...
Moving on.
Moving on. So that's great they're there. Let's move. So some people just need a little more encouragement than others to take some time. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
So switching gears, during these difficult times of COVID, how has work-life balance been impacted? This goes back to what Lita was alluding to earlier, like a lot of the working parents are not only working from home, but also supervising their children who are taking online classes, or watching kids who are like under 5 or whatever, right? So what impact has COVID had on work-life balance?
So Therese, Lita and I have, I think Lita and I have, I think your daughter is the same age as Lita's and I, our last kid. So we'll let you go first.
Oh, well, my daughter is 16. So I feel quite blessed in that I don't have to supervise her learning. And in fact, I have insisted that she continue in her part-time job because they've decided to do everything online. And I feel, for the sake of her mental health, that she needs to be exposed to people in an environment where they're coming and going and people are smiling. Because I think in COVID environment, part of this balance has to do with our basic immune system functions. And our immune system functions are impacted by people smiling at us and nodding. And right now we have masks and we turn away from each other. And our immune systems are impacted by that. So that is on the downside of the balance. And so I'm looking and saying, we've got to find reasons to go out and to do things regularly to have that kind of environment. So in order to create that, as I say, I don't have small children. If I did, I would be glad I don't have a gun in the house, because I do not know how those parents could possibly do it. I mean, like, holy cow. I'm not like, that's not my patience, I have none of that. And so I can imagine 3 kids that you're trying to do that, which I know some people at this bank are doing, and they've got these kids at home and they're also trying to be full-time productive. Well, they're not possible. So we have to change the entire idea about what work-life balance can look like. And we don't actually know, because we've never, ever on the planet had this happen. And so everyone is going to tell us as we go along, what did that mean for you? What does that have to look like? What accommodations have to be made? And so I think it's a huge, big learning pit for all of us. And we'll find out.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Whoa, was that an echo? Okay, so I totally agree, because my youngest is 16 as well. So thankfully, don't have to worry about having to teach him or anything like that, because I honestly don't know how I would have operated. I mean, it would have been impossible, because I remember when my kids were small and I had all of these, remember those crisis calls that I was talking about? I remember being on these crisis calls with the kids screaming, and once I did not put my phone on mute and I shouted at them, and there was a complete silence in the phone, where I'm like, I guess I was not on mute, right?
Did they think you were yelling at them, or did they know that you were yelling at a child?
I was yelling at them. We should have a session just on conference call snafus, right?
Yeah.
I've had another conference call where there was this lady, again, there were 100 people on the call talking about some major issues, and there was this lady who was complaining to her husband about, you make me go to Costco. I don't want to go to Costco. You go to Costco, stuff like that.
Costco argument.
And that kind of stuff is going to be very common now, right? I mean, this is, the fact that you have to deal with your kids, your dogs, which is the least of the problem, right? And I mean, the fact of the matter is that now that is part of what we have to deal with, in which case, people have to, first of all, be kind to other people, have accommodations for other people, have a lot of flexible work arrangements, and bless those parents with little kids, because I really don't know how they're doing it. I mean, they need every consideration, every help that we can give them. That's all I can say.
Yeah, Deepa and Therese, this is exactly what I've heard from most of my colleagues with kids going to school, taking online classes, and even those kids who are under 5, playing in the study room and all of that. So, yeah.
So what I think COVID has done, though, is it's expanded our workday because of, I think, of that flexibility. And I know that parents might need to take a little bit longer lunchtime, prepare lunch for the family or kids, and then help with the homework. And then, so like around 8 o'clock is when you get the influx of emails, because once the kids are asleep, that's when the emails start to come out. So it's kind of shifted. Then all of a sudden I have to deal with emails. I don't have to, but there is a new influx of emails again. And then the 8 p.m. to midnight work time. So it's like pre 9 a.m. or pre 8 a.m. when you have that quiet time, if you take that time, or if you're not at the gym, what have you. And then work day, which is kind of flexible. You think you've got people's attention, you're not really quite sure. And then you get that 8 p.m. rush is what I'll call it. So I think COVID has done is, while it has allowed flexibility for work for employees, I think it just expanded and therefore made our work days even longer.
We probably have to do, I know that initially when kids were small, we never did this, but the thing was, when the baby naps, you nap. So therefore, maybe we have to change the way we operate too, where we are like, maybe these kind of time frames is time we take for ourselves, because, instead of trying to fight the system, kind of flow with the system, right? And say, hey, take that 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. for ourselves, instead of trying to get more.
Can we get that? Is it Spain that has the siesta? Who has the siesta?
Yeah.
Spain has siesta, France has siesta, Amazon has siesta, Facebook has siesta. So
we should have
takeaway
siesta, right?
Okay, so what are some of the activities that you are engaging in during these difficult times to keep your balance?
I'll go first. Okay, so I gained about 3.5 hours every single day from not commuting into Chicago. So what did I gain? I think I've helped YouTube increase their impressions and their viewerships. I think a lot of people have turned to, learning different things. So let's see, I went to YouTube, I taught myself a couple of things. I started a business on Etsy, just was able to, for me at least, with those extra 3.5 hours, expand and get a little bit more me time. I'm not gonna say lifetime, but a little bit more, we'll say me time. To help with the balance.
Right.
Yeah, at first I thought that COVID-19 meant that the 19 pounds that you inevitably have to put on because you're in COVID And when I was going to the gym 5 times a week before COVID, and then when it happened and I came into the house and said, now I have to do it here, my body went, yeah, I don't do that here. And it wouldn't do it. My body just was like, no, we're not doing that. And so then I was like, wait, that's not, wait, literally wait. Like,
yeah, wait.
Yeah, like, hello. And so I end up now, I literally finally got to a place where I hired a trainer just for a few times, make me have a partnership and be accountable, because without that accountability, sometimes I just do other things. It's too easy to slip into those habits. And then I teach, like, I'm an intuitive, especially in business, and I help leaders with this. So, you know, meditation or guided visualization, which I've been doing with people as well, to bring them into their wisdom so that they can make the agile moves they have to make during the day and pivot where they need to pivot without losing their balance. And that comes from accessing that wisdom inside, which means that there has to be quiet time, has to be a sense of grounding and centering and healthy boundaries. And without that check-in every day and that practice, it's very easy to lose boundaries, especially when everyone is in the same place at the same time, the same space. And so it's got to be inner space that's organized so that outer space can reflect that. So that's part of what I've been doing too. And I'm also teaching, reading the quantum field. I'm teaching those sort of things, which when you teach what you most need to learn is very helpful.
Very cool, very cool.
Yeah. So
I think I got an extra hour of sleep. Not quite. I wanted to get an extra hour of sleep, but I didn't quite get it because I used to go teach at the Y and used to wake up really early in the morning. So I'm waking up a little later. What's that?
How early?
I used to wake up at 4, and now I wake up at 5-ish, so which is good. So a little extra sleep, so that is good. And the one thing that I did realize is that accountability is very important. And, you know, I am holding myself accountable and helping other people hold themselves accountable by teaching classes in Zoom. So that is something that I started after the COVID thing. And the one thing that I did start is that, you know, meditation is something that I wanted to do for the longest time. But it's like, I don't have time for meditation. Who has time for meditation? But one thing that I did start in the last few months is actually being able to meditate and breathing exercises, which has transformed my life. I mean, I can say that it's really transformed my life to kind of really help me with the balance aspect of it, you know. So that is something that I've started. I think apart from that, started a couple of communities like the Shakti community, like another tango community for diversity and inclusion, a workout community. So community, because you need each other to kind of, you need each other, right? I mean, it's not something that you can do on your own. You need other people to kind of hold you accountable and that create that sense of support system. So that is what I've done.
Great, Deepa. So last but not least, I have this question for you, which is mainly geared towards young upcoming professionals who are starting out in their careers. But overall, what are some of the actionable tips that you propose?
I can go first. Young and upcoming, I would say that, you know, don't make the mistake that I did when I was young and upcoming, which is focus completely on career. And you know, not think about yourself much, because, you know, I think we are kind of wired to think about ourselves last all the time, you know, and we are like, you know, always trying to please somebody else, or trying to, you know, focus on the career at the expense of yourself. So I would say one of the big things is going to be understand what you want and go after it. I think Therese was saying that earlier, where work-life balance is not about what you have to do, but it's about what you want to do and are you able to do it. You know, so focus on what you want instead of trying to do it all. Focus on specific things and really go after it, but try to take care of your own balance and equilibrium as well, instead of, you know, trying to go too much into the deep end. That would be my advice.
That's right, Deepa. Lita, do you want to go next?
Actually, I was kind of thinking of it kind of more simpler, same idea. It's me, it's just 3 different things. It's just enhancing your body, mind, spirit every single day for that balance, and just literally thinking about your body, doing something physical every single day, walking, working out, whatever it takes to just get your body moving. Body, mind, this would be your work, challenge your mind, whether learning something different, whether it's through that work, or if you're not getting that learning from work, perhaps it's something that you're reading, and then body, mind, spirit would be your spirit, and just, you know, fueling up in different ways, or however you want to grow your soul, just to kind of keep that balance. So body, mind, spirit, mind, you know, thinking about your work life and just making that as fulfilling as possible. So I guess going back to my first answer was like, try to find something that you enjoy. So work does not have to be in a bucket over here, and life has to be over there.
Awesome. Therese, did you want to add to it?
I would agree with both Deepa and Lita on those. And I think that those starting out in Gen Z, are much more aware of those things than our generations were, because I think that they have apps that will help them stay accountable for their body, mind, and spirit. They have meditation apps, they have workout apps, they have nutrition apps, they have, you know, so they are active in the field in a way that we couldn't have even imagined. And so I think and their fascination with those things, I think, is wonderful. The only thing I think I would just say a word in is to pay as much attention to nature as they do to the apps. Because I think that the tendency when you're so brilliant the way they are, that you can make anything happen on technology, is that they forget that we're connected to nature, and the more that we're in it, the more balance we get in our bodies and our immune systems. And sometimes that's overlooked in favor of, you know, we go to the gym and we do the thing and we put it on our app. And so I think that breathing that Deepa mentioned, that breathing and that connection with nature really, really helps all of us.
Awesome. So it's body, mind, spirit, and nature. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.